Most people think a man in 1960 just woke up and was himself. He didn't. He woke up and put on an identity, the suit, the role, the name, the standing, and he wore it in public all day. Who he wasn't something he found inside. It was something he built, and the whole street could read it on sight. Here is what nobody tells you about that era. A man's identity in 1960 was not private, and it was not flexible. It was a public thing, worn on the outside, that everyone around him could read and judge in a glance. His clothes, his work, his clubs, his family name, his standing, all of it added up to one legible answer to a single question. What kind of man is this? And the answer was supposed to hold steady at work, at home, at church, for decades. He didn't go looking for himself. He constructed himself into someone recognizable, and then he stood behind it for life. 25 of those standards, counted down, with the one that holds the whole thing together saved for the end. Stay to the last 3, because the standard underneath all the others doesn't show up until then. Number 25. He dressed for his station. The gray flannel suit, the work shirt with his name stitched on it, the tie that said which floor he rode to. A man wore his place in the world on his back, and you could read his trade, his rank, and his self-respect before he said a word. Clothing wasn't self-expression. It was a uniform that told everyone exactly who they were dealing with. The gray flannel suit even had its own best-selling 1955 novel and a Hollywood film, because everyone understood the suit was the man. They didn't call it a personal brand. They just knew a man dressed as the man he was claiming to be. And the suit had to be backed up. Number 24. His job answered, "Who are you? What line are you in?" That was how men introduced themselves, because the work was the answer to the deeper question. A man was a machinist, a banker, an electrician, and that word carried his whole identity, his usefulness, his standing, his pride. He was what he produced. We have been taught to keep our worth separate from our work, and there is wisdom in that. But something got lost too. The simple, grounding power of being able to say what you do and mean it as who you are. Number 23. He was clean-cut and kept up. Short hair, a fresh shave, a visit to the barber every couple of weeks, nails clean, collar pressed. Grooming was not vanity. It was evidence, proof that a man had himself in order. And a sloppy appearance read instantly as a sloppy life. The face he showed the world was a daily report card on his discipline. We've come to treat all of that as shallow. They understood that how a man tends his own surface is the first thing anyone learns about how he tends everything else. Number 22. The car said who he was. Washed on Saturday, waxed twice a year, parked nose out in the drive for the street to see. A man's car was a rolling statement of where he stood, and he kept it the way he kept himself, which is to say, in order. It wasn't only status, it was stewardship made visible. We lease ours, ignore them, and let them fill with trash. They treated the thing in the driveway as a public extension of the man, and a neglected car told the neighbors something about the owner. Number 21. He carried himself like the part. Shoulders back, chin level, a steady walk, a firm and unhurried way of taking up space. A man's bearing announced his role before his title did, and slouching, fidgeting, or shrinking read as a man unsure of his own place. Posture was identity you could see across a room. They didn't have a word like body language. They just knew that a man who stood like he belonged was treated like he belonged. And the carriage came first. The respect followed. Number 20. He looked like his work. The doctor, the foreman, the salesman, the farmer, each had a look, and a man grew into the appearance of his trade until you could place him on sight. Your work didn't just pay you. It shaped how you dressed, stood, and spoke until the job became visible in the man. Identity flowed from what you did. We've split the two apart. Work is just a paycheck now, kept off our real selves. Back then, a man and his trade were one thing, and he wore it with a quiet pride we've mostly lost. Number 19. The shine was in the details. Shoes polished, even the heels. Trousers with a crease. A handkerchief that was actually used. The hat brushed. These were small things, and that was exactly the point. Because a man who got the small things right was assumed to be a man who got the big ones right too. Attention to detail was a signal you broadcast without a word. We traded it for comfort and called it freedom. They knew that the man who lets the small standards slide is the man whose word eventually slides too. Number 18. The house and lawn were his public face. The grass cut in lines, the hedges square, the paint kept fresh, the porch swept. A man's property faced the street, and the street read it as a report on the man inside. Keeping it up was not about impressing anyone. It was about not letting your corner of the world go to seed under your name. The yard was an argument that you could be trusted. We have grown to resent the whole idea as conformity. They saw a kept home as the most basic public proof that a man had his life in hand. Number 17. He belonged to something. The Elks, the Masons, the Rotary, the Knights of Columbus, the Union Hall, the Parish, the Veterans Post. A man was expected to be a member, to wear the pin, to show up on meeting night, and his affiliations were a real part of who he was. Belonging located him in the community and gave his identity roots beyond his own front door. We have quietly stopped joining anything, a slow unraveling that the scholar Robert Putnam later mapped in his book Bowling Alone. They understood that a man with no affiliations is a man with no place, and a placeless man is far easier to unmake. Number 16. He was a company man. He gave the firm his loyalty, and often his whole career. 30 years, one badge, a gold watch at the end. The writer William White gave the type its name in 1956, the organization man, and it fit millions of them. The organization was part of his identity. And being a steady, reliable man of the company was something to be, not something to apologize for. His name and the firm's name traveled together. We job hop now, and we've gained freedom and lost roots in the same move. They drew real identity from the institution they served, and there was a stability in that we've never quite replaced. Number 15. He wore the veteran's identity. More than 16 million Americans served in the Second World War alone. So most men of that generation had worn the uniform, and it marked them for life in how they stood, how they kept their word, the post they belonged to, the flag on the holiday. Having served was a quiet badge that said this man understood duty and sacrifice firsthand. It was identity earned the hard way. We have largely lost that shared crucible, and with it, a common language of duty. They carried the uniform inside them long after they had folded it away, and the whole community read it on them. Number 14. He carried the family name. He didn't move through the world as just himself. He moved as a representative of his people, his father's reputation, his family's standing, the name over the door. What he did in public reflected on all of them, and that knowledge governed how he behaved. The name was a trust handed to him to protect. We've become individuals untethered from any such weight, and it can feel like freedom. But the man who carries a name carries a reason to stand straight, that the man who carries only himself never quite finds. Number 13. He was a family man. To be called a family man was to have arrived. It meant a man had taken on the most respected identity available to him and was living up to it in public. He showed up to church in a pew full of his own children. He was seen at the ball game and the school recital, and the role steadied everything else about him. It gave a man a center. They did not treat fatherhood as a hobby a man fit around himself. They treated it as the making of him, the identity that finally turned a male into a man. Number 12. He was the head of the household. The role came with real weight. He was answerable for the family's direction, its security, its conduct, and he was expected to be the steady hand at the center of it. It was a position to be earned and lived up to, not just claimed. Whatever its limits, and it had them, it gave a man a clear and serious place. We've spent decades dismantling the role, much of it for good reason, but we never quite replaced the thing it provided, a man who knew exactly what he was responsible for and answered for it. Number 11. He became a man early and stayed him. In 1960, the average American man married at around 22. And by his mid-20s, he was expected to be finished, settled into work, marriage, and a fixed identity, and then to hold that shape for the rest of his life. There was no decade of finding yourself. You became someone, and you stayed him. That early closing of identity gave a man solid ground young. We've stretched adolescence into the 30s and called it growth. They would have found the endless searching strange. To them, a man was supposed to be built by 25 and then lived. Number 10. He acted his age and his station. There was a way a young man carried himself, a way a married man did, a way an elder did, and a man stepped into each in turn and played it properly. Dressing, speaking, and behaving according to your place was not fakery. It was knowing your role and filling it with dignity. We have flattened all of it. Everyone dresses and acts the same age now. They had a clear sense of growing into each stage, and a man who refused to act his age lost standing fast. Number 9, he kept up appearances, even broke. When money was tight, the suit was still pressed, the shoes still shined, the family still walked into church looking whole. It was not deception. It was a refusal to let hardship become your public identity. A discipline that often pulled a man through the lean stretch with his dignity intact. The mask was a kind of armor. There was a cost to it too. Real pain hidden too well, and that's worth naming. But the core instinct to not collapse your whole image at the first hard season is one we've largely abandoned. Number 8, he guarded against scandal. A man understood that a reputation took 20 years to build and one bad night to ruin, so he kept his nose clean, his affairs quiet, and his name out of the wrong mouths. Discretion and caution weren't cowardice. They were the careful tending of the one asset he couldn't rebuild. He protected his name like capital. We now broadcast our worst moments for engagement. They knew a reputation was fragile, public, and permanent. And a man who forgot that could undo a lifetime of standing in an afternoon. Number 7, he was known and placed. In his town, his block, his parish, everyone knew who he was and exactly what he was. His work, his family, his standing, his character. A man wasn't an anonymous face. He was a known quantity, and that visibility kept him honest and gave him a place. To be known was to belong, and to belong was to be accountable. We've traded that for the freedom of being strangers everywhere. They lived inside a web of people who knew them, and a man behaves differently, usually better, when he cannot disappear into the crowd. Number 6, respectability was the whole aim. Above wealth, above flash, the thing a man was supposed to want was to be respectable, a solid citizen, a man of good standing whom others spoke well of. It set the ceiling on his behavior and the direction of his ambition. Respectability was the North Star the entire identity pointed toward. We have come to sneer at the word as stuffy and conformist. But strip away the snobbery, and what is underneath is sound. A man organizing his whole life around being someone the community could genuinely respect. Number 5, he was a provider in his bones, not his paycheck. In 1960, the overwhelming majority of American households ran on a single income, the man's, and providing wasn't a task he performed. It was an identity he carried. The deep sense that he existed to take care of the people counting on him. It shaped what he wore, the job he took, the hours he kept, the way he walked. Being the one others could lean on was who he was. We've grown wary of tying manhood to provision, and not without reason. But plenty of men feel an emptiness where that purpose used to sit. The role gave a man a reason to get up that the world hasn't replaced. Number 4. He was the same man everywhere. The man at the office, the man at home, the man at the bar, and the man in the pew were one man. Consistent, recognizable, whole. He didn't keep separate selves for separate rooms, and a man caught being two different people was a man you couldn't trust. Integrity meant being literally integrated, one piece. Even the sociologist Irving Goffman, writing in 1959, argued, every man is always performing a role. The difference is that this man performed the same one in every room. We now curate a different self for every platform and every crowd. They held a single identity across the whole of their life. And that consistency was the bedrock everyone else stood on. Number 3. His name was his standing. The phrase "his name is good" was the highest thing that could be said of a man, because the name carried his whole reputation, his credit, his word, his worth, in 2 syllables. A man spent his life making his name mean something and then guarding what it meant. The name was the identity, banked and on display. We've scattered ourselves across 100 handles and lost the weight a single name once held. To them, a man was his name, and a man with a good name owned the only thing that truly couldn't be bought. Number 2. He answered for his name in public. Whatever he put his name to, he stood behind, in the open, in front of people who knew him. He didn't hide behind anonymity, a committee, or a screen. His identity was attached to his actions, and he took the consequences face to face. Owning your name in public was the price of having one. We've built a world where a man can act with no name attached at all, and watch what it does to how men behave. They lived fully named, fully accountable, and it made them answer for who they were. Number 1. He didn't find himself. He built himself. Here it is, the standard underneath all the others. A 1960s man did not believe his identity was hidden inside him, waiting to be discovered. He believed it was something you constructed deliberately, out of work and conduct and name and role, and then stood behind for the rest of your life. Everything else on this list, the dress, the job, the family, the reputation, was a brick in a man he was building on purpose. That was the whole idea. He didn't go searching for who he was. He decided, and then he became it. We were handed the opposite instruction, to look inward and wait for an answer, and a lot of men are still waiting. Look back over all 25, and you will see they were never really about suits or cars or clubs. They were one idea wearing 25 faces. A man's identity was something he built in public and answered for, not something he found in private and kept to himself. His image, his role, and his reputation were a single, seamless thing, and he carried it consistently for life. Now the era got plenty wrong. The roles were rigid, they shut a lot of people out, and the pressure to keep up the image hid real pain behind too many front doors. None of that is worth bringing back. But the thing underneath, a man with a coherent, rooted, accountable self, the same in every room, standing behind his own name, that we did not need to throw away. And somewhere in the last 60 years, we did. These are not old-fashioned standards. The good ones are the right ones. We did not outgrow them. We just stopped building them. So here is what I want you to do. Pick one of these and build it this week. If you want the easiest place to start, be the same man in every room for 7 days. No separate self for the crowd, the screen, or the bar. If you want to go deeper, attach your name to something real. Join one thing. Show up and let people actually know you. And if you want the one that changes everything, stop waiting to find yourself and pick one trait this week and start constructing it on purpose. Then come down to the comments and tell me which one you picked and what it did. I want to know which of these still builds a man in a world that forgot how. And if you got any value out of this, real value, do one more thing. Subscribe. That is what this channel is for. Masculine Manual is bringing masculinity back, one forgotten standard at a time, with the codes and the identity most men were never handed. There is a lot more of it coming, and you do not want to miss it.